If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
Hey, hi Bindu. Good evening to you, right? This is
It's morning.
morning? Okay,
Uh,
sorry. Yeah, it's morning.
yeah.
Good morning.
Good evening, May.
Okay, so thank you. So sorry for the delays. Okay, so we were working on internally with the documents. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so sorry for that. I know it's really frustrating because you are looking for the sessions and we are really, behind that. So, but anyways,
No
we will,
problem.
yeah, we will get started with the session. Okay.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
yeah, sure. Thanks, Bindu. Okay. And one more thing, have you ever worked in a Workday projects in the past? No, really? Not?
No, not really,
Okay.
because
Okay.
that's the few chunks that I did, so I can't consider it that
Okay.
standalone work.
Okay, okay, sure. So today what we will do is we will just
Mm-hmm.
focus on the types of tenants which Workday offers. Okay, let's say you are going to work in any implementation projects or in any EMS projects. Okay, then we will just focus few minutes on that, like what are the types of tenants which Workday offers. Okay, and what are the things which are done. Okay, and then we will go ahead and we'll focus on let's assume we are going to work on the implementation tenants. Okay, then
Mm-hmm.
how the requirement gathering happens, what are the different documents, okay, are shared with the customer. Okay, so how the implementers as a team work with the customers. Okay, so how they gather the requirements from the client. Let's say you are going to create the job profiles in Workday. Okay, so what are the various informations you need to ask with the client. Okay, and
Okay.
then after you have gathered that information, then in which tenant you are going to build that information. Okay, so yeah, so in the past, can you please confirm which type of tenant you used to perform the works which you did in Workday?
Um. Um. I can't remember at this point of
Okay,
time. It's a far back, like 6 years back. So.
okay, okay. No issues, no issues on that. Okay, so that's what I wanted to confirm on that, because whenever you will be going for the interview, they might ask you like in which tenant you were doing testing, right? In which tenant you were doing the implementation, and okay, so how you have moved the data from one tenant to another, and all those things. Okay, so you should have the information of that as well. Okay, so they might
Mm-hmm.
ask how you gathered the information from the client. Did you get in a call, or did you share one another document with the client? Okay, they might ask
Mm-hmm.
whether you were involved in the requirement gathering sessions. If not, how you get that information from the client. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
okay, so we will start from here from the scratch. Okay, I know you already know the Workday terminologies, so we won't focus much. So for example, what is suborg, what is organization in Workday, what is company. So we won't go
Mm-hmm.
into the detail of these many things, like the basic things, but we will just talk about from the implementation point of view. Okay, let's say we are Workday consultants, okay, who are experienced 6 months, 5 months of experience. Then we are going with the implementation or any application maintenance projects. Then how we will deal with such situations. Okay, so let me quickly share my screen. Okay, then I will go to the things which we have to discuss as part of today's class. Just give
Okay.
me a sec, please. Yeah. Okay, and in case you need something else, okay, in case you need another topics which you think needs to be covered, just tell us. Okay, I will just go ahead and take the sessions accordingly. Okay, based on your convenience and based on my experience. Okay,
Sure.
sure.
Thank you.
So sure, Bindu. Okay, so if I talk about on a high level, okay, these are the
Mm-hmm.
types of tenants which Workday offers generally. Okay, so Workday offers GMS tenants. So GMS tenants are, offered especially for the implementers, implementation partners. Okay, the companies which implement Workday for the customers. Okay, so for example, let's say Zarantech is a customer. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
Zarantech has chosen Capgemini as their implementation partner. Okay, Capgemini is again an IT consulting firm which implements Workday for their customers. Okay, in this case, Zarantech is a customer and the implementation partner company is Capgemini. Okay, so
Mhm.
what Capgemini will do is Capgemini will offer some services to Zerantech. They will provide, they will just go ahead and showcase the data, or showcase their efficiencies, or the things which they offer as part of implementation of Workday. So GMS tenant is offered to the implementation partners, okay, like Capgemini, like KPMG, like IBM or Accenture. These are some Workday partner companies. Okay, so GMS tenant access is given to those companies. So what happens in GMS tenant? Okay, GMS tenant is nothing but it's a type of testing tenant. Okay, just give me a sec, please. It's a type of testing tenant. Okay, so let's say let's say KPMG, or let's say you are working in any implementation partner companies. Okay, just assume as Capgemini. Okay, then you will also be having the access of GMS tenant. So in GMS tenant, that will be applicable for all the Workday resources who are working in that particular uh, partner company. Okay, so that
Mhm.
they can go ahead and practice in case they are not working in any real time projects, and in case they are free, then they can go ahead and practice the things in the GMS tenants. Okay, it will be a kind of real time tenant where you will be having access for all the required things. Okay, and the partner companies also use GMS tenant to showcase that what they offer as Workday, like what are the different things, what are the different functionalities in Workday. I mean to say, they will just showcase to the customers that, see, this is how you create the supervisory organizations, and these things happens at when the bid happens for any kind of project, for any kind of Workday projects. Okay, so that's the overview of GMS tenant. Okay, so GMS tenant is not applicable for any kind of production tenant, or it is not relevant to any kind of customers. It is just purely for the testing purpose, and only for the implementation partners. Then we have AMU tenant. Okay, so we won't talk about much about the AMU tenant and the global this GOV tenant, because these are tenants designed specifically for the different industries. For example, AMU is designed for the educational consumers. Okay, so we won't deal with this as of now. This is a different type of tenant which gets offered to, especially to the educational consumers. Let's say if we talk about university. Okay, so the
Mhm.
universities or any kind of schools, if they are trying to implement Workday, then they will use Workday offers this AMU tenant to them. Okay, the full form is nothing but the Alta Meter, Mater University tenant. Sorry, Alma Mater University tenant. Then we have GOV tenant. Okay, the naming convention says it specifies that this is applicable only for the government entities. Okay, so the full form of GOV is, I believe, Green Oak Valley University tenant. Okay, and this is this tenant is used by the government customers. Okay, and it is designed specifically for to suit the needs of the governments, various government activities. Okay, if I talk about in India, let's say if there are many states, right? And if any state or any government entity of that state is going to implement Workday for their HR needs, then Workday will offer the GOV tenant to them.
Mhm.
Okay, then we have the gold tenant. Okay, and this is the tenant in which you will be going to work. Okay, and again, this is the type of tenant which the customers or the uh, you know uh, or any kind of companies or organizations which uses, okay, apart from the educational organizations and the government organizations. So apart from the educational and government organizations, Workday provides gold tenant to other type of organizations in like across industries. Okay, whether it's pharmaceuticals or whether it's telecommunication or anything. Okay, and here in the Workday in the gold tenant again. So this is again the high level overview of the four type of tenants which Workday offers. And if I dig into the gold tenant, okay,
Mhm.
so what is the objective of the gold tenant? Okay, this objective is nothing but it will provide a system tenant, okay, for production, where you will get a specialized tenant based on the Workday subscription and the size of the organization. So what will happen is let's say any organization, okay, let's say Zenentech has decided that they are going to implement Workday. Okay, in that case, this particular gold tenant, okay, will be converted to the actual production tenant, okay, in future. Then to reach to the gold tenant, okay, to reach to the level of gold tenant, we have another subtenants available from Workday. And you might know that, Workday is a multi-tenant platform. I mean to say,
Yes.
parallelly, Workday provides multiple tenants to, get the works done. Okay. So for example, Workday provides, will provide 3 to 4 tenants or 4 to 5 tenants based on the organization needs. Even I have seen some customers where during the implementation, they are using 6 to 7 tenants at a single time. Okay, so Workday is a multi-tenant platform. So to reach to the gold level, okay, I mean to say the tenant which will be converted to the actual production tenant, okay, we have to, develop something, right? We have to develop something, we have to deploy something, we have to configure something into the tenant, right? Then only you will reach to the gold tenant, okay? And this particular gold tenant will be converted to the production tenant. Then what happens before the gold tenant? Okay, what happens before the gold tenants? Okay, that's the main thing to be discussed here. Okay, so where you will go ahead and you will configure the things which you will receive as part of the requirement from the client, where you will go ahead and perform the testing from your end. Let's say you have created the soup org. Okay, you have configured the business process in that soup org. Now you want to hire someone. Okay, you want to create some dummy hire. So in which tenant you are going to do the dummy hire? Okay, and in which tenant you are going to perform some kind of testing from your end. And then let's say you have uh, you know you have created all the things, okay, as part of your work. And now in which tenant you are going to move that work, right? So that client can also test from their end. That is called as end-to-end testing. Okay, and then let's say end-to-end testing happens, then that particular data needs to be, like the client is also happy that testing is good and the configuration is working good. Then how that particular thing will be moved to the gold tenant. Okay, and how after that, how that gold tenant will be converted to the production tenant. Okay, so if I talk about the before the gold tenants, we have the implementation tenants as well. Okay, so under the gold tenants, like the as part of the implementation, Workday also provides the implementation tenants. So I believe you might have seen that the URL of the Workday contains some kind of impl dot something, right? I'm not sure
Yes.
whether you remember or not. Okay, if that impl is included in that particular URL, it means that it's an implementation tenant where the actual implementation is being done. Okay, it's a kind of testing tenant, you can say, where you are going ahead and you are building something, configuring something, and then testing something. So
Mhm.
all these things, the configuration, the testing, end-to-end testing, all these things are done in the implementation tenants. And the actual, the URL of that particular tenant starts with impl.workday.something.com. Okay,
Okay.
so we have implementation tenants. And then under the implementation tenants only, okay, I mean to say the URL which contains IMPL, it means implementation tenants. Under implementation tenants only, we have different tenants available for the client. And it changes based on the requirement. Okay, so for example, one customer can have one tenant specifically designed for the configuration and the unit testing from the Workday integration consultants. Do you are you aware of the unit testing, right? Like what do we?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
sure. Then one customer might need a single tenant only for the unit testing and the configuration and all those things. That customer might also need another separate tenant where the end-to-end testing might happen for the integrations, let's say, or for the HCM configurations which you have done, where client can go ahead and confirm that everything is working fine. Okay, so from the unit testing tenant, these again will be the implementation tenants only, which is will start with IMPL URL. Okay, so
Mhm.
so, once let's say you have done the configuration, you have done the unit testing, then you will move to the end-to-end tenant. Okay. So how the configuration will be moved from implementation tenant to the goal tenant. Okay. How that configuration will be done. Okay. So to move the things from one tenant to another, okay, we have we have a different set of consultants available, okay, who perform these type of data, process or data migration from one tenant to another. We have a different, like each projects in which you will work, you will see that there will be a separate team specifically for the data migration point of view, who will migrate the data from one tenant to another. And because you are HCM consultant, okay, you are busy in configuration of something in the tenants, okay, you are busy in configuring the things in Workday, okay, you might not have time to migrate the large amount of data from one tenant to another. So how that things will be done, then these things will be controlled, will be handled by the data migration team. we the projects used to have a separate team, 1 or 2 members or 3 members, specifically for the data migration. Okay. And in case you need to migrate something, okay, in case let's say you have built a cal field in Workday and you want to migrate something from one tenant to another. Have you done this thing in the past, Abindu? Migration of things from
The
one tenant?
migration, I hope that that was migrated. Yeah, I hardly remember, but yeah, that
Okay.
is through, I think, instance, and I migrated the report. That is through
Right.
there is an option for instance and migrate.
Right. That's right. So if that the process has been changed as of now, so we have object transporter 2.0. So okay, so we will, if in case we have the access, we will also go through that. Okay, so in case there is some minor requirements where you want to migrate the reports or cal fields or any kind of supervisory organization, then you can do it yourself via the object transportation. Okay, but
Mhm.
the things are moved from one tenant to another based on the requirement. Okay, and
So
once,
here is a
yes.
question.
Mhm.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
So everything could be migrated, or is there was a limitation that not all and each and every configuration could be migrated to
See,
other tenant?
okay, so everything is migrated. Okay, everything is migrated from one tenant to another. Earlier, what used to happen that the security configurations were not able to move from one tenant to another. Let's say you have built a security user ISU, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and that particular ISU was not getting moved from one tenant to another. Then we have to manually create something in another tenants. Okay, but now with the help of Object Transporter 2.0, we can move the things from one tenant to another, and almost everything. I haven't seen such things in the past where uh, anything is not being moved from one tenant to another. We can move it.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, and there might be a chance that let's say you have created a cal field in which you are using in a report in one of the tenants, and the same okay, and let's say you want to move that to the another tenant. Then in that case you might face the difficulty that the same the reference IDs of those fields are not getting matched in between these two tenants. Okay, so the actual the best thing how to migrate the things from one tenant to another is first go ahead and try to you know uh, migrate the sub elements which are present in an element. Okay, then you go ahead and try to migrate that particular parent element. So you might face a difficulty, but you can all the things can be moved from one tenant to another. There should not be any issue. And now,
Okay.
yeah, now let's say you have done the end-to-end testing, and that particular end-to-end testing, all the data of that particular tenant is being moved to the goal tenant. Okay, and that goal tenant will go ahead, okay, will again, if everything works good in the goal tenant. So for example, let's say there are few integrations which are okay, so I will just take the example of integrations here, okay, because that will we will understand it easily. Okay, let's say there are few integrations, okay, which you have built. Okay, and in the goal tenant, what will happen is client will go ahead and will ask that as of now we will just go ahead and try to schedule this integration in a real time scenario. Okay, and if that particular tenant is working fine, or let's say in the gold tenant only, okay, they will go ahead and perform some kind of data changes on the employee profile, and everything again looks good to everyone. Then that particular, I mean to say, the gold tenant, they will just consider it as a real time, a production tenant, and they will perform the duties or the transactions which will happen in the real time. Okay, and if everything goes fine, then that particular gold tenant only will become the actual production tenant. And the URL of that actual production tenant doesn't start with impl.com. It will always start with www.workday, some url.com. It won't contain IMPL. IMPL is only applicable for the implementation tenants only. I hope now you have the better idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Mike, I have a question.
Hmm.
I have just gone through some videos. There's again Tech,
Hmm.
and where I heard the term like customer central, the
Right.
GM's data. Again, I know now, and then the foundry tenant.
Okay. So customer central, if I talk about customer central, is nothing but, let's say, Workday provides some kind of configurations from their end. Okay. And what will happen? See, I was talking about the object transporter 2.0, right? As of now.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Yes.
earlier, what was happening, what happens was, uh, let's say you want to move from one tenant to another, then you were directly moving migrate, that particular migrate option from one tenant to another, and it was getting moved automatically. But now what happens is Workday provides a customer central tenant to every customers. Okay. So to migrate the things from one tenant to another, okay, it won't be directly migrated. So the migration will be done from one tenant to customer central and from customer central to another tenant. So here the customer central comes into place. So you won't be able to configure anything in work in that central tenant. The configurations will be moved using that particular customer central tenant. It's a kind of bridge between these two tenants. Okay. And also one more thing, let's say, if I again, let's say Workday has provided one particular solution. I will just give one example for the integrations, let's say. Okay, let's say Workday has provided one delivered solution for the integration. Then then particular that then that particular delivered solution will be available in the customer central tenant. So you can go ahead and download that solution from that customer central tenant, and then from there you can go ahead and migrate the data from customer central to another type of tenants. Okay. And if I talk about the foundation tenant, which you were talking about, which you were giving the examples, so foundation tenant is nothing but, again, it's an implementation tenant where the actual foundation happens, where you start collecting the data and start creating the data in the tenant. That is the foundation tenant, as the name suggests. Okay, where the everything is built from scratch. For example, let's say you are trying to implement for thousands of workers for any organization. In that case, you will build something, right? You will go ahead and create company, you will go ahead and create the locations, right? So
Mm-hmm.
those particular things from the scratch, they are built in that particular foundation tenant. It's a kind of implementation tenant only.
It's a kind of implementation tenant,
Right.
or it's a implementation tenant itself,
It's an
right?
implementation tenant itself, right? Because I was talking about, implementation tenants can be of multiple types. For example, unit testing,
Mm-hmm.
dedicated to the implementation, end-to-end testing, and so on.
Okay,
And
so this
yeah,
foundry tenant, it could be means there could be subtenants as well,
right,
like
there could be subtenants, right?
mhm.
But that particular subtenants will be available to the consultants after the foundation of, foundation, foundation tenant is complete. I mean, so you have configured everything in the foundation tenant, you have configured the
Mhm.
SUPOCs, the companies, and so on, then all the tenants will be available to you all.
Okay, so the foundation tenant is only the standalone one tenant,
Right,
and
at the start.
at the start.
Right.
And if we talk about we want to subdivide or we want to create some subtenants, then it would be after that foundry tenant, right? So the
Right.
found
So
tenant is the foundation.
right, right. And see, as a Workday HCM consultant, okay, you won't be involved in the discussions where, how many tenants you require from your end. Okay, so it will be uh, the higher representatives from the customers, okay, and the implementation partners, they will go ahead and will create the request with Workday itself. Okay, then Workday will analyze the data, like how many workers are present. Do they really need the 5, 6 tenants from their end? Okay, or this can be managed from 2 to 3 tenants only. Okay, so
Okay.
in the foundation tenant, you will go ahead and build something. Then you will be notified that, see, you have configured something, then you should move this to this tenant. Okay. And then you have to done your, do your testing in that particular tenant. So you will be notified in that case. Then, but you won't be involved at this particular stage. You won't be involved in kind of discussion like how many tenants you need from your end. They will just tell that, see, these tenants are available, this will be used for this thing, this will be used for this thing. Okay,
Okay.
right. Now I hope you have heard about, if let's say we have the production tenants. Okay, now have you ever heard about the sandbox tenant and sandbox preview tenant in the past?
Yes.
Okay,
Usually we had Sandbox and SAP as well, and
right.
Success as well.
So right. So what will happen is, let's say gold tenant, you have like gold tenant is done, and that is converted to the production tenant. Okay. And now client is live. Okay. Customer is live. In after that, what will happen is Workday provides 3 types of production tenants to their customers. Okay. One is
Mhm.
actual production tenant in which they are live, in which the live things are being done. Hire, transferred, they are working with real-time scenarios. Another one is a sandbox tenant. Okay, so sandbox tenant is nothing but it's a copy of the actual production tenant, and it refreshes every week. So let's say you have what will happen is, I will just show my calendar. Okay, uh, just give me a sec, please. You can see my calendar, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so what will happen is, the actual sandbox tenant, it will be the copy of the actual production tenant, and it will refresh every week on, let's say, Saturday. On Saturday, the sandbox tenant will go ahead and refresh it, okay, and it will go ahead and update the data in sandbox with the actual data of production. Okay, so you will have, let's say, what will happen is, let's say you have a sudden requirement, okay, where you want to build something, in Workday. Okay, so let's say if any customer is, let me just phrase this way. Okay, let's say you have any customer is gone live with the actual production tenant, and after a few days, after a few months, they have a certain requirement. Okay, and they requested the partner company that, see, this is the requirement which I want to get it implemented in the production tenant, quickly. So in that case, partner company or the Workday HCM consultants or even the integration consultants, they will go ahead and, you know, will will build something in the implementation tenants. Okay. And then they will migrate that data to the sandbox tenant. In the sandbox tenant, what will happen is they might have the actual, the real-time data from the production tenant, which they can use for testing. Okay, so sandbox tenant, it's just the copy of production tenant. Okay, so it is not going to update something on the employee profile in actual production tenant. It is just the copy of the production tenant. So the consultants will go ahead and whatever the configuration they have done in the implementation tenant, okay, they will migrate that particular data to the sandbox tenant, and here they will get the opportunity to work to test that data using the real-time production tenant. Okay, so that they have the look and feel of the changes, how the changes will work here in this particular sandbox tenant. Okay, if everything is working fine in sandbox tenant, in that case, they will just go ahead and try to migrate that data from the sandbox to the production tenant. So in a nutshell, sandbox is nothing but it's a copy of production tenant, so that you can go ahead and test any kind of, the enhancements or modifications which comes on a ad hoc basis, and then you can test it in the sandbox tenant and everything looks good, then you can migrate to the actual production tenant. So this sandbox tenant is available to the customers only when they are gone live. And here one more thing comes into place. Okay, once the customers are gone live, then also let's say, see, once the customers will be gone live, they might need support, right, for the activities which they have implemented, right, for any kind of
Mm-hmm.
sudden enhancements, in case they need any kind of sudden enhancements, ad hoc enhancements, then also they might need support from the implementation partners, right?
Right.
In that case also, Workday provides separate tenants for configuration, for build, for test to the customers as well. Again, that will be the implementation tenants. So now how the data will be moved from implementation tenant to the production tenant once the customers are gone live, how these things will be done, how the if the Workday has been implemented for any of the customers, so how the data migration will take place. In this scenario where the implementation has already been done, this is the requirement of application maintenance support projects or the certain enhancements. In this case, the migration of the data will happen, or the migration of the configuration of the enhancement will be done in the implementation tenant. Then that particular configuration will be moved to the sandbox, and from sandbox it will be moved to the production. So the migration directly from implementation to the production doesn't happen in the actual scenarios, okay, where the customer has already gone live. You got my point, right? So here the
Yes.
sandbox comes into place. Okay, now moving forward, okay, what is the sandbox preview tenant? Okay, because in the interview questions they will surely ask you, see, if let's say Workday has provided some kind of updates to you, if Workday always releases updates every 6 months, right?
Yes.
So for example, for 2023 they have already released the update of 2023 R1, and they are going to release for 2023 R2. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
every 6 months Workday release the updates, provide the updates, okay, from their end. And let's say Workday has updated some functionality from their end, okay, or Workday has depreciated some kind of delivered fields from their end, or they have added some additional fields from their end in their tenants. So to test those fields with the actual production data, they provide the tenant to every customer, which is called as sandbox preview tenant. Okay, so sandbox preview tenant, it is used to test the enhancements, or sorry, test the updates which Workday delivers every 6 months. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
as part of the Workday HCM consultants, you will be involved in testing of those updates from Workday, and those testings will be done in the sandbox preview tenant. Okay, because in sandbox preview tenant, Workday will go ahead and provide the all the latest updates, and Workday will also provide some windows. See, Workday will tell that, see, in October we are going to release the updates in sandbox preview tenant. Okay, so you have this 2 months of window from October to November to test all the updates which we are going to provide, and you should able to fix in case you are using any kind of older functionalities or any kind of things which are depreciated from us. So you have 2 months window, just go ahead and test those things in sandbox preview tenant, and after, like in the month of December, we will be gone live with the changes. Okay, so you won't be able to uh, you know just Workday provides some kind of heads up that you have 2 months of window. Just go ahead and look if you are using this functionality which we have updated. If yes, go ahead and test that, and after that move that changes to the production tenant, so that after we apply the changes to the production tenant, then there should not be any kind of issue from your end. Okay,
Okay.
so this is how the sandbox tenant, production tenant, and the sandbox preview tenant comes into place after the uh, customer is gone live. Any questions
Okay.
on this particular concepts, Bindu, from your side?
Yeah. As you said that the sandbox preview tenant is specifically for the updates, testing of the updates provided by uh, Workday in every 6 months, right?
Right.
So, what kind of data is it? Again, the copy of production?
It will be again a copy of production data. That's right. But here, Workday will, let's say Workday has added additional fields from their end. Okay. And
Mhm.
in this preview tenant, Workday will add that particular additional field which they have updated or they have added from their end. Okay. So that let's take one example. Okay. Let's say we have a field in Workday which is called as hire date, right? So
Mhm.
that particular hire date is a delivered field from Workday. Okay, so that hire date contains the actual hire date of the employee. So sorry, Workday, what will happen is, let's say Workday found out that that particular field is not properly built from their end. It is creating some kind of performance issues. Okay, so they might go ahead and update that particular hire date field from their end, from their back end. Okay, and see, and they will tell like in every update that, see, hire date field, this will be replaced by, let's say, hire date new field. Just one example, okay? That hire date new field. So all the customers who are using hire date field, they should use this hire date new field for any of the reports or for any of the integrations or anywhere where they are using. This is one just example. Okay, so this hire date new field which they are going to deliver as part of enhancement or updates, this will be available in the sandbox preview tenant for that 2-month window where they have specifically requested us to go ahead and test that field.
Okay. So, is
Okay,
it get refreshed every week, or means
no,
the copy will be updated there, the
no, no,
production copy?
no. Sandbox preview won't get refreshed every week. Only
Okay,
sandbox tenant refreshes every week.
got it.
Okay, so this is just that Workday uh, just. And also one more thing. Okay, so let's say there is a requirement, okay, where you don't want the sandbox tenant to get refreshed on a particular week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's say there is some enhancements which you are doing and you are stuck with that enhancement in the sandbox and you want to test that enhancements with the production data. Okay, so what will happen is, let's say you have built any kind of enhancement in a week. On 9th, what will happen is, as the data will be refreshed and it will be a copy of production tenant, so all the enhancements which you have done, it will be lost, right, from the sandbox
Right.
tenant. So what will happen is, you in such scenarios where you want the refresh doesn't happen, in that case you can request Workday. You can just drop an email to Workday that, see, please don't refresh the sandbox for us in this particular week. And it can happen for multiple weeks, continuously for multiple weeks as well. But a request has to be raised to Workday from the customer. Okay, customer
Okay.
has to raise the request. And now let's say again, let's say you have a 2-month window to test the sandbox preview tenant. And on a certain days, okay, on a certain time, you need that a sandbox preview tenant to get refreshed with the production tenant. In that case also, you can request Workday, see that we need this sandbox preview tenant to have the data of actual production tenant. Please go ahead and refresh that, or just create the copy of that. They will go ahead and refresh that to the actual production tenant. So uh, on the ad hoc basis, requests can be raised to Workday, and they generally accept those requests, and they do the work. Okay, and sorry. So do you have any questions still here, Bindu? Any questions on the tenants part?
No, I'm
Okay,
okay with it.
sure. Thank you. Now, as we have covered the tenant, okay, now let me just go ahead and try to show you how you will gather the information from the client, okay, from the customer. So you might also be required, okay, be included in the requirement gathering sessions, okay, where uh, If not, then at least if let's say you have showcased in your resume that you have worked in any implementation projects, okay, then in that
Mm-hmm.
case you should know how the requirement gatherings was done, right? How uh, even though you are not part of the requirement gathering sessions, you so what will happen is generally what happens is, let's say if there is any fresher or 1 year of 2 years of experience worked HCM consultants, in that case their supervisors or their team leads, they go ahead and discuss the requirement gatherings with the client itself. They don't, this happens in the in the real world. They don't include the subordinates or the juniors to their team in the requirement gathering sessions. So they might think that this will be high level information to them. But the thing is, these questions are being asked in the interviews, okay? How the requirement gatherings was done. So, did you prepare any kind of documents to get the data from the client? If yes, what are the questions which you included in that particular document? Okay, let's say you are going to implement supervisory organizations for any of the customers. Okay, so what are the information you asked and with the customers, like uh, for the supervisory organizations? Okay, so in generally, like if we think as let's say uh, we are going in the requirement gathering session, okay, and we are going to fetch the information of the supervisory organizations. Okay, so what are the different questions you might ask? I have the documents as well, but if I talk about high level overview of the questions, then you will go ahead and first ask that, see how many supervisory organizations you have in your you want to be created in the tenant, right? So before that, customer or the client should have the proper knowledge of what is sub org, okay, what is company, what is organization. Okay, so these things, like the proper knowledge of these things to the customers, they will be provided, these things will be provided by the different team. You don't have to worry about that, okay? But for the requirement gatherings, first questions you have to ask is how many organizations you have in the tenant, right? What are the types of organizations in that tenant you have? Okay, what will be the location which like pertaining to those organizations which will be created in the superorg, sorry, in the tenant. Okay, and see then how many hairs you have, and see how these will be segregated with respect to the organizations. Do you have that particular list? Provide that list as well to us so that we can go ahead and create these many organizations in Workday. Okay, what is the staffing model you think we recommend that this all the recommendations will be done before the requirement gatherings only. Okay, so but we will just have to ask from them, this will be the staffing model from us. Okay, we are going to implement this particular SUPOX with this type of staffing model. Then let's say you have implemented SUPORG, then you will be going and asking from them, what are the different types of organizations which are included in that particular SUPORG. Okay, so if you know, right, Bindu, that there are organizations which are assigned to the supervisory organizations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for example, cost center, companies, and so on. So Workday provides a specific document to gather these information from the customer. Okay, so you can refer those documents, and you can refer those documents from your end, and you can gather the information, like, see, these are the informations which Workday recommends to use that information to get the data from the client for the configuration and for any kind of configuration in the tenant. So let's give few minutes on that as well. Okay, so I have the some of the documents available here. I am not sure whether you have seen in the past. So did you ever get a chance to look in any kind of design documents in the past, Bindu, whether it is for integrations or for HCM configurations?
Design document for integration I saw.
Okay, sure. So in the design, it was in XML, oh, sorry, Excel format, right?
Yes.
Okay, so sure. So Workday provides such type of documents, the format of those documents from their end. Okay, so you can go ahead and use those documents to gather the information, you can go ahead and based on the customer's flexibility, if they prefer any other documents, sometimes what will happen is they prefer the Word documents for the integrations. They provide the format for those documents. So you can go ahead and refer that. Okay, but Workday provides such documents from their end. Okay, so let's go one by one for few of the documents. Okay, let's
Mm-hmm.
say let's say we have the document where we have to get the data for the HCM job profiles and related data entries, data elements. Okay, let's say you are going to configure the just give me a sec. Yeah, let's say you are going to you are going to gather the information for the job profiles. Okay, so what are the information you should ask in the job profile? Okay, so you have the job profile name, you have the job profile code, and once the information is, you have the information, that information needs to be entered here. Okay, so for example, if you see here, we have the definitions for uh, each of the field names, which is required for the job profiles. When you're going to create a job profile, these are the informations which are visible on a particular job profile, right? So you might go ahead and ask these informations with the client and with the customer. Okay, and again, these documents which you see here on the screen, these are used while gathering the data for foundational data, management thing. Okay, where you are going to collect the data which you have to configure in the foundation tenant, which we talked about a few minutes ago.
Founder
Okay,
tenant, right?
right. So this is one such example, how you go ahead and create, the data from their end. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right,
Yeah.
right. Similarly, if you see here, you have the additional, these are nothing but the field specific informations which is relevant to the job profiles. Similarly, we have the management levels, and management levels are nothing but, again, these are used in this particular job profiles only. Okay, so if you see, if you have created ever the job profiles, there you see the types of management levels, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you might have to go through the client and describe that, see, or you might ask that what are the type of management levels you have, and these management levels will be applicable to the job profiles. Similarly, you have something called job levels in Workday. So what are the types of job levels you prefer? Okay, then you have these, difficulty to fill. These are getting populated in the first, in this particular job profiles column. Okay, so this is how you gather the information from the client. Same goes for job families. Okay, a job profile might be linked to a job family, right? So you should also have the information gathered. What are the types of job profiles which you have from your end, and what are the types of job profiles which will be tagged to those job families. So you should gather the informations in this kind of workbook. Okay,
Okay.
right. So
Sorry to interrupt, Mike. Would you be sharing these documents,
right,
the material?
right. I'll share it with you. Okay, for
Okay,
your
and
reference.
it would be better if it would be filled with some dummy data, something kind of, for a reference only.
Okay, I can go ahead and will add 2 to 3 rows from the
Yeah,
tenant from
that's
the
enough.
tenant which we are going to refer in this class. Okay, I will use that
Yeah,
particular tenant as a
sure.
reference. Okay, and will provide these documents.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sure. Now let me go to another document which we have here. Okay, just give me a sec, please. Let me go to the Workday decision guide, which is used for the staffing. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and here this decision guide is nothing but it has some kind of questions. If you remember, we were talking about the organizations, right? Supervisory organizations. So what are the type of questions which you have in mind,
Mm-hmm.
which you should ask from the client? So we have something called decision making guides. Okay, in that particular guide, you can go ahead and refer these guides. For example, if you are talking about staffing models, you have to ask this question from the client. You have to prepare some kind of this document, and using this document, you can go ahead and gather the information from the client. Okay, that staffing model, like what are the see for example, do you need the ability to track and report on the open positions with the staffing model? Okay, if yes, they will just tell that yes, then just mark it as yes and provide the comment, and in that case you can take the configuration forward. So if you remember, like while creating the position, you have some option of the open positions where something we will go ahead and see that as well. But here you can ask these questions, basic questions from the client, from the customer. Okay, so for example, staffing models. Do you want to impose some kind of hiring limits? Hiring limits is nothing but the hiring restrictions they can say. Okay, let's say they just need only 10 hires to be present in a single supervisory organization, or they just need only only a person with a specific educational background from the client or from their end. Okay, they need only those employees to be hired in their organization. Okay, so you might ask these questions from the client. Okay, I will share this as well. Okay, then for the job catalog as well. Okay, you can ask for, you might have to provide some kind of job catalogs to them, and you can just ask, see, or review on a live session with them that, see, these are the job codes and these are the job names available, these are the management levels, if you are okay with everything here. Okay, and these uh, things or the decisions are made on actual live working session with them. Okay, so working session used to happen with 1 hour 2 hours daily till the requirement gathering phase is over. Okay, phase is over. So you can refer these type of documents as well, which includes the staffing details, uh, particularly to each categories. I will share this as well. Let me go to another type of document which we have. Okay, quickly. Then we have something with, let's say, HCM staffing and worker data. Quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Then I wanted to show one more document to you. Okay, where we have, okay, sorry, this doesn't have any kind of information. So looks like you can copy it with the configuration workbook, and you can create as per the information you have. Okay, so for example, this is again a document where you need to gather the how the phone, what are the different types of phone devices types available in Workday, what are the name types, and so on. Okay, you see in this particular document, it clearly has a description of a particular content, and what how that particular content will be implemented in Workday. Okay, it has all these informations populated. So by this way, you should go to the client and uh, get started with the requirement gatherings. Okay, so if we go to each tab one by one, for example, if I go to the phone device type, it houses all the types of phones, okay, which will be created in Workday. Then we have address usages. So if you remember, like if you know the, I believe we can create the address usage types in Workday. Okay, uh, we can do that. If not, I believe these are the options available from Workday. Okay, you might ask to them that, see, these many options are available from Workday, and how do you want these many options to be mapped as per your requirement? Like, do you want something address type as stunning letter? Okay, or something as permanent? Okay, or something as, whether you want to specify which type of address you want to specify as other home, or so on. Okay, so you might have to present this thing to the client, and they you have to discuss this as part of the requirement gathering sessions. Okay,
Okay.
right? So
What's the
similarly,
factory default? Sorry. Oh,
mhm,
sorry to interrupt. What's the
right?
factory default? The
So
default
factory
value.
default is nothing but the default values from Workday. Okay, so you see, you have the default value. So uh, if you want to use the default values for these particular address uses type, you don't have to change anything. It will be defaulted as per the as per the Workday's functionality.
Okay.
Okay, similarly, you have the messenger types and so on. So these are some types of specific information, so which you can gather as part of the requirement gathering sessions. Okay,
Right.
and you can use this in your, as to showcase your experience as well. This will really be helpful to you. Now let me go ahead and present one more scenario, where one more guide where we had the questions as well. Okay, I had uh, uh, done that. Okay, let me just provide that as well. Okay, again, it's a type of the document where you can gather the information related to the supervisory organization. So for example, for SUPORG, okay,
Mhm.
if I talk about here under the SUPORG, okay, then see, the basic question is you have to ask for the hierarchy, okay, who reports to whom, what will be
Mhm.
the top level SUPORG, and what will be the subordinates under that particular SUPORG, and so on, right? Then you have supervisory organization. Then if you remember, we already talked about, like, you might have to ask about the subtype. What is the type of that particular SUPORG, whether it's department or division or something else. Okay, so in the actual world, let's say uh, you are creating the SUPORGs with different subtypes, right? So the working of those SUPORGs won't be different. Okay, you can hire someone, you can terminate someone, you can do all the staffing transactions. So subtypes are used only for the reporting purpose. Okay, so you can client might able to define that, the few departments as few supervisory organizations as departments, few supervisory organizations divisions, and so on, based on the requirement. So this might be used for the reporting purpose only. Then you should ask the question like, what is the visibility you need for the supervisory organizations, what should be the naming convention, and so on. So these are some basic questions which you should ask with the client. Okay, and these questions might come up in your interviews as well. Okay, and I'm sure they might ask you the questions from their end, because you are showcasing as, very few years of experience or as a fresher, so you should know these many informations which we have prepared as per the questionnaires here. Okay, so I will provide these details to you as well.
Okay.
Okay, so please go ahead and refer that as well from your end, and then you will be able to understand it better. And
Right.
then I'm going to do one more thing. Okay, so we have something with the guided scenarios. So let's say you have implemented something. Okay, let's say you have implemented staffing in Workday, or
Mm-hmm.
a job HCM thing in Workday. Okay, so what are the types of tests which you need to do as part of the testing? Okay, so what are the things which you have to do as part of the testing? Okay, so sorry, these things, okay, the test scenarios we have tried together in this particular document. Okay, so it has the test scenarios for all the types of, you know the scenario IDs. For example, let's say you are trying to implement HCM. Okay, as you are going for the HCM consultant, you are going with the role of HCM consultant. So what are the types of scenarios which you have to test after the configuration, after you have done the configuration? Okay, so we have tried to include that here as well. So for example, if I go ahead here, just focus on this K column. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
after K, we have some scenario IDs. You can ignore that. But here from K, if you see here, we have tried to include all the types of scenarios which we can test as part of the change action assignment or as part of the staffing transactions. Okay, so client, okay, in the interview they might ask you, okay, so see, you have created the supervisory organization, you have created the job locations, and now you are also saying that you have you know implemented the change of business process as well. So how you have tested the change job? What are the different types of scenarios you can test in the change job, and what was the result in that particular change job? Okay, so see, under the change job, see, you have this change of assignments for workers by organization. Okay, so what this particular these particular things needs to be tested after you have done the configuration in as part of HCM. You have change organization assignment, you have move workers, so move workers organization and so on. You have edit a position, freeze a position, and so on. You have the description as well. And then you have how you can do that, do these transactions. For example, for the move workers by supervisory organization, under this particular column L, you have the description, and under the column M, you have the steps, okay, a step how you can go ahead and perform this particular scenario from your end. Okay, so this particular document has all the key scenarios which you can refer, which you have to refer as part of the document. Okay, so you can, you can just go and review this document as well. Just review the type of details which we used to have as part of the requirement gathering sessions. And we as a Workday consultants used to prepare such documents to have the requirement gatherings done. Can you hear me, Bindu?
Yes, I can hear
Okay.
you. I just
Okay.
mute myself so that I'm
Sure.
just concentrating.
Okay. Okay. Sure. No issues. No issues. Sure. Thank you. So here, this is how the requirement gatherings are done, and we as a Workday consultants, we also go with same types of process and present these type of documents with the client and take the discussion forward. And these particular documents, see, this particular document has the efforts as well. So what are the type of efforts you need for the minutes or hours, how many minutes are needed to test one particular document, one particular task. Okay, and these type of documents, so there might be a chance where the scenario documents are might be created with some different ways. There might be a chance the format is different, but the these scenarios which you see on the screen, these these might be same across all the HCM domain. Okay, you have everything here. I have tried to include all the types of scenarios which you might get as part of the HCM domain. Okay, so you can go and review this, and you can find out these type of scenarios which you can test as after the things has been done. And also this can be used as part of the KT process. So let's say you have developed everything, right? You have done the development. You have what I can say. You have uh, if the customer is going live, okay, then the KT of the configuration and the process also needs to be done with the customer, right? Because they should know the actual process as well, what is happening in behind. Okay, in that case also, you can go ahead and you can go ahead with this document that, see, we are going to have these documents, these things as part of the KT. Okay, we are going to provide the knowledge transfer for all these type of scenarios which you see on the screen, so that you have all the things recorded and you have all the things available at your fingertips, and you can go and review these informations, and for any kind of future use, you can go ahead and present this document as part of the KT as well. Okay, so these things will be helpful with the client and with the customers, and they really appreciate these things if we go prepare in front of them. Okay, so if you scroll down, it has everything for the HCM. If you scroll up, it has, we have tried to include the things for the absence as well. In case you are going with the absence module, you can go ahead and test that from your end. Okay, so what are the types of scenarios which you can include as part of the uh, absence and so on. Okay, so this is how you can do that. So I will share this document with you as well in the, okay, after in by tomorrow or by day after tomorrow. Okay, if I have to include some kind of dummy values, I'll include that and I will try to share the document with you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Then we have, as you have already seen, the integrations document. So I won't talk about the integrations because we are trying to focus only on the HCM sessions here. So, but I will share the integration document as well for your reference.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Let me go ahead and quickly show you one more thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we have already talked about the supervisory organizations. I had one more thing. Just give me a sec, please. Okay, so this type of document might be used for any kind of APIs, I believe. Okay, so this will be used for the data conversion. Okay, so I mean
Mhm.
to say, let's say, any client is previously working with PeopleSoft. Now they are trying to migrate to Workday. Okay, so how the things from the PeopleSoft will be migrated to Workday. Okay, there might be some uh, APIs available which might be linked between these two systems. So we won't talk about this in detail, but we can use this type of document for any kind of API documentation available. Okay, so for example, let's say we have the first name field in Workday, right? That particular first name field might correspond to another type of field in PeopleSoft. Okay, and PeopleSoft might provide, or Workday might provide an API to the PeopleSoft that, see, you just provide me the information in this particular type of API, in this particular documentation, in this particular format. We will just go ahead and update the information in Workday itself directly. So this can be used for the data conversion team as well. Okay, so we won't focus much in detail here, but I will try to provide the documents as well for your reference. Okay, so
Okay.
yeah, any questions till here, till the documents part, Bindu, from your end,
As you have shown me multiple documents,
right?
so if the interviewer asks me what all documents they consider while or within the implementation, I'm not talking about the while going for an implementation, but
Hmm.
if you implement a project, so what all document you consider, whether it's a design document or the workbooks or anything.
So
So how do we list out based on the priority?
okay, first thing is,
Mm-hmm.
you have to tell that you refer the design decision guide
Mm-hmm.
where the list of questions were prepared. Okay, and we have to we got the answer for the list of questions. Like, there was some kind of decision done from the client. Okay, for example, if we talk about supervisory organizations, okay, you gather the information like how many supervisory organizations you have. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
what are the types of organizations you need. After the design decision is done, then you went ahead and uh, with the configuration workbook guide. Okay, where you have tried to gather the information individually for each elements and sub elements present in Workday. Let's say for SUPORC, you have done the decision in the design decision guide. Then in the configuration workbook, you have the all the types of supervisory names available. What should be the location name of the supervisory organizations? I mean to say, the individual elements and sub element details. You have
Mm-hmm.
the configuration workbook.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you can tell that these we gather the information from these two documents. Okay, and here you will not have the need of the design any kind of separate design document, because you have gathered everything in the configuration workbook. So configuration workbook comes into place when for the functional things. Okay, design documents comes into place for the integration things, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
can consider it as a design document. The configuration workbook, it has everything. Okay, for example, you have to create the number of pay groups. So what are the different types of pay groups, the names of those pay groups, the codes of these pay groups, and so on. Okay, so all these things are tracked in the configuration workbook. So first thing is design decision guide, then is the
Mm-hmm.
configuration workbook. And for testing, you have other type of test documents which you have already prepared, and you can refer those documents, like that I have prepared these many documents based on my testing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mayank.
sure. Thank you, Bindu, thank you for your time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your time
Take
too.
care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.